Here we are in Raja Mayang, which is the nerve center of the Mayong civilization. Mayong civilization dates back to the 2nd century when we find a lot of tantric practices going around. And then we again see a shift of the civilization to the Vaishnavite influence of Srimanta Shankardev in and around the 15th and 16th century. But what we are concerned is about conserving the civilization of Mayong, which is a unique civilization in the sense that this was a geographical area which was isolated from the mainland, and therefore the ancient civilization that was here was preserved in a very pristine form along with the natural environment. Mayong has its tantric connections to the Tibeto-Burman school, and also we find that Aghora sect could have been here, which is the very extreme form of tantricism, which by nature practiced its religion within the confines of a very limited people with a very limited membership of the clan. They used to do very occult practices, and because it was a kind of a closed society, their occult practices were not known. So the word spread around that Mayong is a place of witchcraft, Mayong is a place of black magic, but actually it is not so. But what is forgotten is that the history of this place was never documented. It was only about 30 years ago that the teacher from this place, Lokendra Hazarika, and his pupil, Dr. Utpal Nath, got together to do some historical cataloguing of the Mayang civilization that abounded in this region, starting from the Kajuli Soki and ending up in the Bura Mayang area. Sri Lokendra Hazarika, who started documenting the evidence around, tried to build up a narrative and a history of the region. He started collecting the artifacts which were lying here and there. Initially, he started his efforts in his home and then expanded it to a museum. And as you can see, there's this building behind me, which is the first effort at building up some kind of a museum for the Mayang civilization. But the scourge of floods was not to go away. And so what happened is within 5 years, this house, the plinth and the basic structure got affected, and thereby the superstructure also got affected. And what had happened is that inside the museum, because they didn't have any display mechanism, display cupboards, proper hanging, or because they didn't have the expertise of how to arrange a museum, it was their desire to keep the artifacts in a safe condition more than a display condition that they set up this museum. Intact, stepped in with the assistance of Gerda Henkel Foundation of Germany, which helps in conservation efforts. They started and partnered with Intact Assam chapter to do a museum in Mayong. Initially, we began with trying to revive this building, but after engineering examination, we found out that this is not a safe structure anymore. It may collapse any day. So we had no option but to abandon the idea and look for an alternate place. Now, we were fortunate enough that a permanent building of the museum, Mayong Museum, was contemplated by the Nath Yogi Council. Now, it is then we entered the fray, and with the funds provided by the Gerda Henkel Foundation, we got about reviving this building. Although it was designed to modern museum standards, but the flood level was not taken into consideration, and in 2019 that this whole building was nearly flooded, and we were left with no alternative but renovating the inside of the incomplete museum and start our work. Once we got down to the job of building the museum, we found out that just displaying the museum with the available artifacts would not suffice. So we went about archaeological mapping of the whole Mayang civilization area. We collected the manuscripts, conserved them. We involved a lot of local people and a lot of domain experts, and virtually desperate situation during the COVID time when everything was shut down. We persevered the COVID pandemic. Keeping the COVID protocol, we went about constructing the museum, and finally our dreams have fructified, and I hope we will be able to give the visitor a beautiful glimpse of the great Mayang civilization, which is only best experienced rather than heard of. So I would invite all of you to please visit the museum, please visit Mayong, not only in the winter but also in the various festivals that they keep on having here, and also appreciate that there was a small little civilization with its unique attributes which had contributed to the World Heritage.
As we stand at the entrance of the newly renovated Mayong Museum and Research Center, I take pleasure in introducing first the members of the museum committee, Sri Lokendra Hazarika, who is the president of the Museum and Village Research Center at Mayong, Dr. Utpal Nath and Mr. Nazrul Islam. I would like to introduce Mr. Swapnanil Barwa, who is the co-convener of INTAC Assam State Chapter and also the co-convener of this museum renovation project. Then we have Dr. Manzil Hazarika. He is assistant professor in the Department of Archaeology, Cotton University, and he is our principal investigator, and it is to his credit that most of our research work in the vicinity of Mayong has been completed. Assisting Dr. Manzil Hazarika, we have Sanatana, who is also a research scholar in the Department of Archaeology. He has not only assisted Dr. Hazarika, but he has also done the documentation listing work of all the artifacts which are available in the museum. Then we have Mr. M.C. Bora, who is our account keeping man, and he has very diligently maintained the accounts. We have as assistants in the field work Mr. Jayanta Roy and Ms. Jutimala Mishra, who are also students in the Department of Archaeology, Cotton University, and they have been working very actively in the field with Sanatan and Dr. Hazarika. Our principal conservation expert for the manuscripts is not present here today due to personal reasons, but I have with us our assistant conservation expert, Ms. Honghati Adhikari, who is a museologist and also very passionate at her work, and helping Honghati in her work was Mridula Barwa, who also belongs to the area and has been trained by Honghati and our conservation expert in conserving the manuscripts. We also have Karuna Nath, who has helped in conserving the manuscripts. He is also the keeper of this museum since its inception. Then we have Saddam Hussain, who has been our errand boy, running errands from Guwahati to Mayong and back all the time. I'm grateful to the entire team for their hard work, and I congratulate them all for helping all of us to complete this work in time. I'm sure you'll be happy to see the completed work. Lastly, I'm Professor Sheila Bora, the convener of the INTAC Assam State Chapter and also the convener of this renovation project.
This is the entry hall of this museum, and here we have kept one map showing all the important archaeological and historical sites of Mayong region. Basically, in this map, we have covered almost an area of 400 square kilometer that we have explored thoroughly, and many of the archaeological sites have come to limelight through this exploration. Starting from Sopaidong, then as we move towards the eastern side, we have several sites near the Brahmaputra and along the bank of Kolong. And as we move forward to further east, we will see lots of sites up to Boghara area. The whole area is actually diverse in terms of its geography and its geomorphology. On the north, you have the river Brahmaputra, and on the southern side, the Kolong river flows on, and the Kolong is actually linked to it Kopili. And this entire landscape, if you see, it is diverse, and here you have some hills and some hillocks and some swamps and some beels, and the Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary is located in between. And this particular museum is very close to that wildlife sanctuary, and in this entire area you will see a range of archaeological sites, starting from habitational sites, religious or temple sites, some sites with rock cut sculptures. And here in this map, we wanted to show some of the important sculptures and other archaeological features, so that anyone who is visiting this museum, they get a glance of different archaeological sites, so that any visitor who is interested in visiting these sites can actually get some idea. During our explorations in the Mayong region, we have come across several sites which date back to early medieval time period, and these sites are mostly rock cut in nature, having the depictions of deities like Ganesha, Uma Maheshwar, and there are some individual sculptures recovered from different parts of Mayong, now kept at various shrines, temples, or even at some personal possessions of some households. For example, we have 3 beautiful images of Vishnu and Surya. These are reflections of early medieval art, and interestingly, they are very similar to some of the sculptures of the very famous site of Ambari in Guwahati.
In this gallery, we have tried to depict a scene of the village life of Mayong area. This is a traditional house, traditional mud hut made of clay walls, bamboo and threshing grass. We have tried to depict another village scene in the next gallery with a paddy field. Mayong is famous for paddy cultivation. About 80% population of Mayong connected with agriculture. Here preserved a wooden sandal. In Assamese we call it kathor horom. It is actually used by a magician of Rojamayang village. We have collected from their family. And then this is royal soidula used in marriage ceremony to carrying bride. This soidula or palanquin is collected from the royal family of Mayong kingdom.
This is the third gallery of this museum, and here we have showcased the different objects based on their raw material like stone, terracotta and even metal. We have several artifacts related to the subsistence pattern, and here you can see some of the cannonballs from Kajoli Soki. Mostly in this section you will see lots of decorated and undecorated bricks and some unique pieces of circular bricks from Gorubanda area, stands either of red ware or kaolin ware, many ritualistic globular pots of early medieval period, many potsherds which resemble with other sites of the Brahmaputra valley. These are also linked with the famous archaeological site of Ambari in Guwahati. And here are some terracotta sculptures which are showing the religious faith of these people in the past. Here we have showcased the metal artifacts found in the Mayong region. Metal artifacts or objects include brass metal, bell metal, iron, bronze, etc. Some were recovered from digging and some were at the personal possessions of the kings of Mayong region. And here you can see some important ritualistic objects which we believe to be linked with Buddhism, and some of the deities are also depicted on those triangular objects.
We have a small section of numismatics in the museum. We got a collection of several colonial and post-independent coins along with cowrie shells. So interestingly, cowrie shells were considered as an alternative coinage during early medieval and late medieval period. Regarding this, we have many epigraphical evidences in Assam. And in the colonial coins, we have coins of Queen Victoria as well as coins of George V.
Previously, several photographs of both male and female bears or practitioners of magic had been showcased in the old museum, but they were neither framed nor were they listed or documented, and they had almost been destroyed due to water and floods. And they did not have any interpretive labels, and so it was very difficult to understand what these photographs were about. We have collected about nearly 200 photographs now, from mostly photographed by Dr. Utpal Nath, and these photographs have been framed and now they have been showcased in this photo gallery, as you can see. They show both male and female practitioners of the magic craft, and these photographs have, as you can see, they have interpretive labels which give their introduction and also say what they are trying to do in the picture. The photographs depict firstly consulting sessions between the practicing magicians and their clients. There are several pictures where we see where people come and visit them for their suggestions. The photographs also show some commonly used ingredients in the practice of magic, mostly herbs, and these were key to the practice of magic in the area. This practice of using herbs is still continuing, and it is mostly the women of the region who are very familiar with these herbs. Though some of the plants are no longer available, but most of these plants are still available for the continuance of the practice. The photographic evidence also tells us the difference in the status of the male and female practitioners of magic, as you can see. Here we have some of the very old aged practitioners, and some are still living, and our attempt in doing this gallery is to ensure that this tradition of healing, natural healing, the practice of magic continues, and people of the region who are so proud of this practice can hold on to their tradition.
Manuscripts collected from Mayong are called puthi by local people, and Assam's Hasipat is a unique manuscript material. We have worked on Hasipat, machine made paper and handmade paper as well. From most of the manuscripts are collected from the local custody. Over 240 manuscripts in bundles we have collected and we have worked on, dated from the 13th century to 20th century. The language of the manuscripts are Old Assamese language and Modern Assamese. The pigments in Assam used in the manuscripts are hengul and haital. Hengul is arsenic sulfide and haital is mercuric sulfide, and the ink are black and red. And most of the manuscripts are handwritten, and some of them are illustrated and some of them are printed as well. So as you can see, for proper storage, all the manuscripts are kept wrapped in starch-free red cotton cloth and with acid-free mountboard paper, and all are kept in acid-free boxes like this.
ইয়াত যি দেখা গৈছে এয়া তেলপেৰা কুঁহি আৰু পেটাৰী। এয়া অতি প্ৰাচীন কালৰ পৰা আমাৰ অসমীয়া সমাজত এই তেলপেৰা কুঁহি আৰু পেটাৰীত মিঠাতেল গুড়ি কৰি পেলাই তাক ভাজি ইয়াৰ তেল পেৰিছিল। যে এয়া কাঠৰ শৰাই, কাঠৰ হেতা, গছা, এইটো দুলি, ইয়াতে চাউল তাউল থৈ দিয়ে। তাৰ পৰা ইয়াত আছে এইটো মেন্থেল লাইট, আৰু এয়া গোটেই তাঁতশালৰ সঁজুলি, ৰাচ, উঘা, তাৰপিছত এই চিৰি বা এই কাঢ়ুনি ইত্যাদি আছে। এইটো যঁতৰ, এইটো সূতা কটা যঁতৰ, এইটো সূতা লোৱা যঁতৰ, এইবিলাক গোটেইখিনি তাঁতশালৰ সঁজুলি।
তাৰ পৰা ইয়াত আছে আমি কৃষিৰ সঁজুলি নাঙল জুঙলি ফাল খন্তি উখুন লাহনি ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি বাকি এখিনি আমাৰ মিউজিক্যাল ইনস্ট্ৰুমেন্ট বাদ্যযন্ত্ৰ এটা আছে ডম্বৰু এটো কাৰ্বি সম্প্ৰদায়ৰ চেং বা মুৰিত তাৰ পৰা মোহৰ সিঙৰ শিঙা মোহৰ সিঙৰ পেপা টিলিঙা ঘণ্টা ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি মঞ্জৰি আদি এখিনি গুটেইখিনি বাদ্যযন্ত্ৰ সম্বলিত বস্তু এটো আমাৰ অসমীয়া প্ৰাচীন অলংকাৰ ইয়াক চন্দ্ৰহাৰ বুলি কয় এটো ৰূপৰ অলংকাৰ ঠিক তেনে ধৰণৰ এজোৰ থুৰিয়া এইখিনি মায়ঙৰ এটা অতি গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ বস্তু আপোনাৰ তন্ত্ৰ মন্ত্ৰৰ লগত অতি নিবিড়ভাৱে জড়িত হৈ আছে বনৌষধ বা ভেষজ বিদ্যা এইসমূহ ভেষজ বিদ্যাৰ সামগ্ৰী ইয়াত প্ৰায় আমি 45 বিধ ভেষজ বিদ্যাৰ সামগ্ৰী সংগ্ৰহ কৰিছো বিভিন্ন বেজসকলৰ পৰা যিসমূহৰ দ্বাৰা আমাৰ মায়ঙৰ যিসকল পৰম্পৰাগত বেজ আছে সেই বেজসকলে তাৰ পৰা অংশ বিশেষ কাটি কাটি কিছুমান তাবিজ বনায় নাইবা বিভিন্ন ধৰণৰ ৰোগৰ ক্ষেত্ৰত এইসমূহ ব্যৱহাৰ কৰে
We are now standing in the room where there are a few photographs which showcase the very common birds which can be seen in and around the vicinity of the museum and some animals like the one-horned rhinoceros and the Asiatic buffalo. The area of Mayong was once infested by tigers, and these tigers not only terrorized the people by attacking them, but they also ate up the cattle of the villagers living in the vicinity of Mayong. This oral storytelling, mythology and the belief system of the community of Mayong reflects the belief that the practitioners of magic cult or the bears could achieve everything, even the most impossible. In this showcase, we see Surabaj in the center with a few of his colleagues helping him to capture the hypnotized tiger, and we see a few of the implements which he used. For example, there is a thick jute net and there are spears and sticks which were used by the people after the tiger was hypnotized. So the story of how Surabaj hypnotized the tiger has been clearly written for our visitors on a board here so that they can read the interesting story of the tiger being hypnotized.